Let's begin with the obvious. You've invited multinational CEOs from around the world here to Buenos Aires to persuade them that now is the time to invest in Argentina. Let's just pretend that I'm one of those CEOs, that I have billions of dollars that I could commit
How many?
to investments in Argentina. Well, let's say several, in the single digits. What's your pitch? Tell me why I should invest in Argentina today when, as you know, this country has been so unkind to investors for so long.
Well, Erik, let me tell you and convince you that we have started a new political stage. There is a new Argentina, based not in a government, based in the majority of the citizens of Argentina, that we have learned, we have understood that in addition to our talents, our huge natural resources, we have to add constancy, we have to add rule of law to be predictable. We have to clean up our economy and have clear rules and stable on time. And that's why we believe that now, having learned that, working together inside Argentina, cutting with all these conflicts that we have internally, but also with the rest of the world, you cannot find another country with such an upside like Argentina around the world. Because Argentina now is producing, in spite of all these conflicts I described, food for 400 million people, 10 times more the citizens that we have in Argentina. And we can double that in 5 years. Can you imagine that? That's a huge revolution of investment and production. And then we can add value to that production and change to be the granary, to be the supermarket of the world. In addition to that, now we are importing gas and oil, thanks to horrible policies. Now we have found Vaca Muerta, one of the huge shale gas reserves in the world. In addition to that, we have the second aeolic reserve in the world and the third solar reserve in the world. So in renewables, Argentina can be, again, a very important player. So I'm talking about traditional energy, non-traditional energy, renewables, agribusiness. Now I add mining. We have the second lithium reserve of the world. It's the most forecast demanded mining product for the future years, all the batteries and all what's going to be the future. So in only 3 or 4 sectors I can show you all the opportunities that we have. In addition to that, we are very good to offer added value services to be produced here and export to the world. We compete with every country in the world. Here, Siemens, IBM, Accenture are coming to establish and increase the amount of people hired to produce all that type of services.
Mr. President, reminding everybody, of course, that we're speaking live with Mauricio Macri. He's the president of Argentina. We're here in Buenos Aires, speaking, of course, to Bloomberg television viewers and radio listeners worldwide. I admire your optimism. It doesn't surprise me, but I admire it nonetheless, and I, along with everybody else, recognize the immense potential that this country has. But the people who are going to commit capital to Argentina need to see results. Now, of course, you've accomplished much in your 10 months in office. You've settled with the holdouts, for example. You've removed some trade barriers. You've liberalized the foreign exchange regime, and many other things, all very important steps. But as you point out, it's not quite enough. You're seeking to do more. I want to know what more you can do, practically, realistically. What can you accomplish? What is within sight?
Well, we are working hard to continue reducing taxes. We have launched the most important infrastructure program in our history. There's another opportunity there for the most important companies around the world. We need roads, trains, ports, energy. Pipelines. And we're starting to build them because to increase our production, we have to connect such a huge country like Argentina. And we are working close with all the leaders in the country, political leaders, unions, companies, to work under productivity programs. So as how can we reduce our costs? How can Argentina come back to be competitive? So we are all working in that idea, on improving our ways of production, improving our education system.
What's your top priority? If it's something you hope to achieve in the next 6 months.
Next 6 months.
Yeah, what's at the top of your list?
Well, the top of my list is I have 3 main objectives. No, reduce poverty.
Yes, no, I'm talking about policy. What can you do in the next? You can't eliminate poverty in 6 months.
No. We are working, and that will take
decades.
Decades. Let's say 1 decade. I expect that in 1 decade we will finish with the poverty in Argentina. But
no poverty in a decade.
That's
an ambitious goal. Okay, let's go back to the 6 months now.
The 6 months. Well, we are working hard to continue building strategic alliance with different countries around the world. We have one with China. We are working in one with Japan, with Korea. We are working with the European Union. We have exchanged our first proposals so as to have a free trade agreement. We are working with Brazil in that. Brazil is going out of a very severe crisis and is our principal partner. So I think that agenda, putting, fasten up the infrastructure program is another priority.
Let's talk about Brazil since you brought it up. Dilma is out.
Yes.
Temer is in. Is he someone you can work with?
I'm committed to work with whoever runs Brazil, but he's visiting our country the 3rd of October, so in a couple of weeks. And we want to work together. We want to open our economies to the world. We want to create conditions so as Mercosur will be more attractive for the world. No?
Many Brazilians don't trust him. Do you trust him?
I will trust him, yes, of course.
You will trust him?
Yes, I have to give me the chance to work together with Brazil. I really admire Brazil, their energy, the entrepreneurship of Brazilians. We need to work together. In addition to the isolation from the rest of the world that brought up the past government of Argentina, also affected the relation with Brazil. We need to rebuild that relation.
How do you redefine Argentina's relationship with China?
A strategic, intelligent relationship in which we want to...
What does that mean?
Means that they can invest in infrastructure programs and they have to buy goods from Argentina. So we can balance that relation. That will create jobs in Argentina, create opportunities for Chinese. They have a problem with food security. Argentina can help a lot in that matter in terms of future. No? We have talked at the beginning, food security, increasing the production. Argentina can do it. China has proved to be one of the most effective infrastructure builders in the last 20 years. No? They have done a revolution.
So that's why China, because there are infrastructure companies in Europe, for example. There are infrastructure companies
open to all of them. I have been
States.
traveling and inviting them to come. I told them, please, don't let Chinese manage the whole market. Be present here. Let's balance. We want to have a balanced relation with the world.
But you can't have it both ways. Surely, if you want the Chinese to come, you have to offer them something that you aren't prepared to offer to the Europeans or to the Americans.
No, there's room for everybody. We have to build a whole new country. So we're talking about thousands of kilometers, thousands of megavatios, so there's room for everybody.
What about the United States? We're about to have an election. There's going to be a new president in Washington.
To have as good as the relation I built with Barack Obama. So I'm expecting to continue having such a fluent relationship.
Regardless of whether it's Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump?
I will try to have the best relation for Argentina, whoever is elected. It shows up to be easier with Hillary Clinton because I know her. We have been working through C40 when I was mayor of the city with the Clinton Foundation. So I expect that. But finally, what I really believe is that what we have started in terms of a mutual, mature relationship between Argentina and the States has to continue.
What about Venezuela? Argentina was a thorn in the side of the Americans and other countries that want to see a regime change in Venezuela. How do you lead on Venezuela?
I'm really worried about Venezuela because I cannot see which is the way out of this situation. People are suffering down there, up there, and you don't find in which way this is going to be solved. I thought that there was a chance to have this referendum so as to have elections before the end of the year, but Maduro had achieved to not accept that, no, and resisted. So things are going to continue a process of deterioration that is affecting and killing Venezuelans every day. So I'm really worried.
Will it take a revolution?
I don't know, but what I'm sure is that in Venezuela, the actual government is not respecting the human rights. So,
but what can you do? Argentina supported Chavez and Maduro. Now, clearly, you're not supporting Chavez and Maduro, but what can you do to bring about change?
I expressing my disgust of what is going on and going into every international forum to say we cannot accept, we cannot look to the other side. We have to really denounce what is going on there because they are violating the human rights every day. So I have friends, and you know, in the past, when in Argentina suffered the same situation with the military government, the refugees of Argentina went to Venezuela, and Venezuela received them. So I own them.
You owe them.
I own them. So that's why I'm expressing this so clearly. No?
Solidarity with people.
We have to stop what's going on in Venezuela.
Reminding everybody, of course, that we're speaking live with Mauricio Macri, the president of Argentina, here in Buenos Aires, to Bloomberg viewers and radio listeners worldwide. Since we're talking about foreign policy, Mr. President, what about the Malvinas? Britain's Minister of State for Foreign Affairs is here. He came to your forum.
He came. It's a gesture, huh? But well, we are planning to have a meeting with Boris in New York in occasion of the UN meeting, and we want to establish conversations. We know that will take a lot of time, but we want to start. We cannot accept that we cannot sit down on the table and discuss around all the matters.
So in other words, you're not prepared to live with the status quo?
No.
But are you willing? Here's the key.
In the meantime, we want to have a positive relationship with the United Kingdom. But it's a question of respect. This is a claim that we will not leave aside. But we want to sit down and start talking about that claim.
I respect that you will not leave it aside, but are you willing to compromise on Argentina's claim to the Falkland Islands, as everybody else knows them, and the Malvinas to you, in order to mend those fences with the United Kingdom?
Yes.
You are willing to compromise?
Yes.
How? What are you prepared to put on the table?
No, we are prepared to dialogue. We believe in that. Dialoguing is a way to solve these problems in the 21st century. There is no other way. And we cannot accept that of this subject we don't talk. No, come on. That's not like that.
Mr. President, one critical test of your credibility, let's say, and your ability to execute is the budget. Argentina's deficit last year was 5.4% of GDP, the primary deficit. Enormous.
Enormous.
You've promised to lower it.
Yes.
To what?
To 4.8.
This year?
This year.
What about next year?
We are trying to go around 4%. We
4%?
Have to go, yes, we have to go gradually because socially we cannot assume to go in another way. No? We have to accept that this has been a disaster in terms of increasing the deficit in the last 10 years, but everybody has to understand that we have to do it step by step. And we are committed, and we are going to fulfill that commitment of reducing every year and reducing inflation. We took the country in a recession process, huge and high inflation. We are cutting down inflation. We have reduced it to nearly half of what it used to be, and we are going to continue working until we reach one-digit inflation in 2 years more. vis-a-vis, we cut the deficit.
What will inflation be by the end of next year?
15%.
15%, an ambitious target.
Ambitious.
So bringing down inflation, controlling fiscal spending, putting Argentina on the right trajectory is important for your creditors, the people who bought your bonds, but you have to balance that with the demands of a government. How do you know what the right number is? Because the people, you're heading into an election year. Argentina, just like the United States, has midterm elections. They're coming in October of 2017. The people, if you want a majority in Congress, the people are going to want you to spend, aren't they?
But I'm so proud about my people. Even though I have been taking awful decisions, not very popular, raising tariffs 400%, because they were in ridiculous values, they are still backing our government. More than 60% of the citizens of Argentina had a great hope in the future. And I really appreciate that, because that means that we are all understanding that we have to put our best effort to go in the right direction. So I believe that in the next year we will have a wonderful election that will confirm that we are in the right direction, and it is not a government decision. It's a massive Argentine decision, this change of the scenario.
Mr. President, let us talk for a moment about corruption.
Yes.
Because many people would say it is institutionalized in this country. You must agree that it is absolutely critical for your government to be above reproach and suspicion, surely. Yet, there are two cases in your own cabinet where we see questions being raised about cash, for example, at the house of your vice president, about shares held by your energy minister. Don't they undermine the standard you're trying to set for this country?
No. In both cases, I'm very confident that there's nothing strange. I really believe in my vice president. She has explained, she will continue explaining that the justice as it should be always be, because in the past government they didn't want even to give explanations. And the Minister of Energy has already sold the stocks.
But the Shell stock. He sold them.
They sold them.
So that addresses that problem.
Yes, but even that, Shell has an activity in Argentina that is mindless compared with the activity.
Well, it's global operations, that's true.
Global operations. So, but I understand that the forms are important. So I believe that Argentina needs to heal that damage that corruption did. No? So we are working on that. I promised my people that I was going to put in place the best team in the last 50 years in terms of capabilities and honesty, and I did it. And I trust in my team. I believe that Argentina have moved forward, and part of the huge change is that we are going to cut corruption. Corruption is the best partner for poverty. So if we need to reduce poverty, we have to cut corruption.
How do you dismantle the legacy of Peronism, though? The corruption institutionalized throughout the bureaucracy, in the tax collection service, in the customs authority, in the police, in the judiciary. We're talking, you've said it yourself, we're talking about a cultural change.
Well,
you can't, can you do it in one term of presidency?
We are doing it every day. Every day. Things in Argentina will not change in 1 year, in one presidency. But every day we are doing changes in the right direction. And what's important is what I do, the example that you give. A president is like a father. So you have to be always understanding that what cares is what you do, not what you say. And I'm trying to act in consequence to show that there is another way of doing politics.
You can't afford to make a mistake, can you?
No, but I expect that God will help me and illuminate me in the right direction, because I'm here, because I love this country, I believe in my people, and I'm sure that we can do it much, much better than we did in the past. And Argentina is ready to take its place, and that everybody thought that it was going to have, no? Because it's a big country with a lot of talent, and we are much more than Messi, the Pope, and the Queen. We have lots of very skillful people here that knows how to do things right, and I'm trying to help them, because the protagonists of the future are them, not my government. I'm only a facilitator of the future, and I'm trying to help everybody to do the role as better as possible.
To that, Mr. President, I say ojalá.
Ojalá.
And muchas gracias.
Thank you.